Welcome to the first episode of This Conversation Matters podcast. And I'm Dr. Susan Protasio. I'm your host. I'm very passionate about conversations that are insightful. So this podcast aims to inspire, inform, and share thought-provoking conversations and hopefully serve the common good. And the title of this podcast is Kindness 101, the gift of kindness. And you might be wondering why I have that title. Well, creating this podcast has been in my mind for quite a while, but then I'm encountering challenges due to the technical part of creating a podcast. But today I am here launching my first episode of this Conversation Matters podcast. And that was made possible due to the three people that has extended their kindness to me. And they helped me get started. So it made me wonder, what is kindness? You know, where does it come from? So we're going to dig deeper into that thought. And I would like to welcome my first guest, Father Akhil Thomas. Father Akhil.
Thank you, Susan, for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying yes and being here. So can you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Of course. I am Father Akhil Thomas, an SVD missionary, Divine Word missionary. And I studied and I had my formation in India. And my general aid had appointed me as my first assignment here in the United States to US West Province. That we have our provincial house in Riverside. And now I am appointed in WordNet Productions, one of our communication ministry of the province, and I am director here. So finally I am here.
I'm happy to hear that because your presence here is helping me a lot. So it made me curious, you know. I was wondering, what is kindness? What does it mean? Where is it coming from? So I got interested and looked into it, and I was surprised that there are several definitions for kindness. And I'm gonna share it with you. And then I find out when I look it up, there are like dictionary definition. There is this from American Psychological Association definition, and then the biblical perspective of kindness. The dictionary says, kindness is a quality of being friendly, generous and considerate and caring for others. It involves actions intended to benefit the other person without waiting for any return. From the American Psychological Association, it defined kindness as benevolent and helpful action intentionally directed towards the other person. And it is often considered to be motivated by desire to help others. So I wonder now, what is the biblical perspective about kindness? And what are your thoughts on this definition?
Of course. Kindness is a vast topic, and if you can think of it, you don't need a definition, or I don't think that we can really define kindness, because any action can turn into a kind action. And from the biblical perspective of something that really fascinated me or something that really touched me was the kindness of the parable of the Good Samaritan. Though he was attacked, or when the man was attacked on his way to on his road, and when he was attacked, the other man who considered as his enemy goes all the way, or he goes out of his ways to help him, and he takes care of him, and he even give enough money for the innkeeper to care for him, even for his future expenses. I think that is the way how God shows us that we need to be kind to the others. I have an interesting experience in my life after coming here in the United States. So as you come here, you do not know many of those things.
Yeah, yes.
I was so fortunate enough that I had Father Biju, who was my mentor here in WordNet, and he showed me so many things, and he took me through all these places. But I never knew that you can go to you need a Costco card to fill the gas. So I go with my car and I reach there, and I was waiting for payment of payment for the gas. and I did not have a Costco card, and I did not have a credit card too, because as you know, as you reach
Yes.
here, you need a credit score to get a credit card.
Right.
So when I was standing there with a lot of anxiety, a man came and he punched his card, and
Oh,
he asked
really?
me to fill the gas for you without even asking a word.
Oh, wow.
Imagine the kindness, how a stranger
Right.
became a kind person to me, and that helps me to push myself, do a little more for the people, and that would be my definition, like do a little more than you have expected is a kind of kindness.
Yeah. And then it makes me wonder, like you said, we cannot define it, but somehow it makes me wonder, why are some people kinder than others? What is the reason? Where is that, perspective coming from? Why people are more kind than others?
Of course,
know?
I have always
So-
reflected on this, what you have asked for.
Yeah.
So I remember when we were in novitiate, like the year before we make our first vows, we had gone for an experience. We have 40 days retreat. So
Okay.
during that time, we have one day dedicated for picnic. So we go out and spend our time in a place, and we cook and we eat and we come back. That is the idea. So we had taken enough food, and we had gone out and we were there. And when we went to that particular place, there were two boys from the local place. Of course, they were like shepherds. They were tending their sheep, and they joined us and they took us around, and we came back. And when we were going back, or when we finished our picnic and when we were going back, we gave him some money. Then he said, "No, we don't want money. Can you give that medal that you have on your neck?" Or it was rosary, in fact. He did not even know what to say for that, because he heard that if you use that particular rosary, you will be always safe. And we gave him the rosary, and as a gratitude to that, he gave a staff which he considered as his safety measure when he goes out to the jungle.
Oh, wow.
What a act of generous deed by this little boy. So we felt that the kindness and the generosity that we show to others is nothing when compared to what he held so dear to him, the staff he handed over to us. And I have kept that staff still as one of the greatest memory in my my
That
house.
encounter
Yeah.
kind of implanted in your mind. That's like a very clear example of what kindness,
Yeah, yeah.
I know.
And you asked why there may be people who are really kind. Maybe
Right.
because some of them are received more kindness. That's the reason they are
Than the
giving
others,
more
yeah.
kindness. Yeah.
Yeah, and then also I was reading because I was really curious, because kindness, it has a certain impact on people that other people doesn't realize. Right? So I was like looking. So there are factors that affect kindness, and one is like it mentions, it's a social factor, like the cultural norms that reward and encourages people to be kind. And then also the family and the community, where their life experiences, if they have experienced kindness, then their tendency is to be more kind. And then the community where they were raised also influences the level probably of their kindness. And another concept that I read was the reciprocity, and it says the idea that kindness begets kindness encourages people to be kind. So it's like when you become kind, other people would be kind to you too, not necessarily the people that you extended your kindness, right? Just like the experience that you shared with me, the guy who paid from Starbucks.
No, from Costco.
Costco.
Yeah.
No,
the other one.
Yeah, the other one. Can you
from
tell that story again?
Oh yeah.
That was nice.
Yeah, that was something a new experience for me too.
Yeah.
That I have encountered here
Yeah,
in
yeah.
United States. So we were waiting in the drive-through of In-N-Out Burger, and it was we had already ordered our food, and it was time for us to pay for our order that we had made. But the car in front of me had paid for next 3 cars behind him. So in other words, like his kindness had extended to another 3 more cars behind him.
Right.
And at that time, I did not have an idea. At least I could have paid for another 3. But when I came out of the drive-through, that was the time I thought of it, because that may be the way how his parents might have taught him, or
Right.
Something that must have touched him to pay
Right.
for the next 3
Right.
cars that behind him.
Yeah.
Or that was one of the great example
Yeah.
that I have found in this country. Our people are being so kind.
Yeah.
And the second thing, like the culture that we come from also is really has an impact in our kindness. Like to tell you the truth, sometimes when I was growing up as a child, when you don't have something in your house, you immediately go to your neighbor's house.
And then you ask.
Yeah, so we don't go to the store immediately. We go for example, like if you don't have enough sugar, you just go to your next neighbor and ask for some sugar.
Yeah.
And when they don't have sugar,
They
immediately come to our house and take the sugar.
Yeah.
I think we may not emphasize so much as kindness, but if they are not kind, then we would never go back again to that house.
Right.
And there are so many cultural factors to in it.
Right. Right.
And,
Right.
the upbringing is also an important factor, wherein you see how your father is kind to your mother, and
Right.
how your mother is very kind to your father and the rest of the family.
And
I
then
think
you
this
grew
one-
up. You grew up with that idea or that example.
Yeah, examples that you see every day in your
Yeah.
surroundings.
I came across this. I read it somewhere. I think it's online. There's this daughter and mother, and they have a neighbor, and the mother keep going to the neighbor and asking for, can I borrow like a cup of sugar, anything small items. And then the daughter asked the mom, why do you keep going to her house and asking for that? We have that at home. We have sugar, we have this. And the mom replied and said, no, the reason I go to her house and ask for something, so to make her know or make her feel that if she needs anything, she could come to us and ask for our help. I think that was so profound.
Yeah, that was so profoundly
You know,
how she.
Yeah, how she did it. That's
Yeah.
instead of saying, do you need anything, she would just go and say, can I borrow? So that's the tendency for that person to, if she needs someone, she's going to come to her house and say, can I also borrow? You know?
Yes, that gives a freedom for the other person to
Right.
Receive the kindness from
Right.
the other.
Yeah. And so there is this, I kind of like realized that in this act of kindness, there are 2 things that are happening. So the giver of kindness and the recipient of the kindness. So as I was reading, it says the giver of kindness, when we engage in that act of kindness or do act of kindness, the giver often experience positive feelings, like feeling of like a glow, a warm glow in your heart, or like a feeling of joy. And then the brain, it kind of releases this feel-good chemicals we call serotonin or dopamine, right? Now, the recipient of kindness also experiences some positive feelings like feeling of gratitude, joy, or connection. So there is this loop of emotional exchanges. But one thing amazing for me is we don't see it as such. I was looking back, have I seen kindness that way? I always do act of kindness, but because I wanted to do it, I want to help the person. But it never occurred to my mind that there is this interplay between the giver and the recipient. That was interesting to me. And then so I thought, so that loop of the giver and the recipient, it keeps going back because of the emotional or connection of that kindness, right? But then, if you look at the other side, we are human, and we say that for kindness, you don't expect anything, right? But then, if I do kindness, let's say to you, my tendency is, at least the person would say thank you, right?
Yeah.
Or appreciate. I think the human factor kind of disrupt that cycle or the loop of that kindness, because if one person show kindness, the other person did not appreciate it, then the giver becomes upset and then started to think, do I need to be kind really? So what do you think about that?
Oh, I have found, or what I have understood from what you have made the statement is like kindness is like an infinity loop, which never ends. But if you are kind, of course, one or the other time, it would come back to you.
Right, right.
For example, now in the morning when you come to your office or when you go to your office, when you are on a 4-stop, if you find someone, if someone shows you, okay, you go ahead before me, and you go ahead, and the whole day will be in a positive manner, and anything that happens to you, or even if something bad happens to you, you can take it in a very positive way. But whereas there, if someone cuts you off and goes, then
your day is gone. It's done.
The day is gone. So any little kindness that you receive, you will for sure give to someone in one or the other way on the day that is on the same day, or
Right.
or a few other days, like after a few days also.
Yeah.
Because what I believe in is like it's like an infinity loop, wherein you receive and you give.
Right, right.
You receive
And
and
as
you
we
give.
say, the more you are given,
Yeah.
the more you give.
Yeah.
And that is the loop of grace.
Yeah, that is the reason
know?
I have, that is one of the lessons that I have learned from the life of Mother Teresa. She was someone who was very generous as well as very kind to everyone who came to her. She never left anyone empty hand, even if she did not have anything with her. Because if you know their life, they don't even have a bank account. Every day they go out to meet the people, and they generously give them for taking care of their people and the patients and all those people in their inmates in the convent. But she never disappointed anybody. The same way God never disappointed her in anything that she asked for, or anything she had begun in her congregation. So
that's nice. So I was thinking, so I would like to share with our audience that if for whatever reason you are giving kindness or doing act of kindness, and if people disappoint you at a certain point, I would say rest if you must with your kindness, but continue to be kind, because you'll never know your impact of kindness, how your kindness can affect someone's life. So just rest if you must, and then just be kind. And like you said, if you have it, I believe that if you have that kindness in you, it would continue. It doesn't stop.
yeah, it doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. It's always, it's gonna manifest one way or another.
Yes.
So that's, I think it's very profound. That's why I thought, okay, I'm gonna have this kindness as my first episode.
Yes.
And then I read, I'm gonna share this quote to the audience. I find it very profound. It's a quote from Mark Twain. And it says, kindness is the language which the deaf can hear and the blind can see. Isn't it profound?
It is really profound,
You
and
know?
it is really true.
And it's true.
It is really true.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
So I hope this engaging conversation that I have with Father Akhil Thomas has shed some light to you about kindness. And if you want to read more or know about kindness, you know, there's a lot of information out there. But I think what I wanted to hear from Father Akhil, his perspective is kindness is within us, right?
Yes.
It's within us. We just need to kind of be aware, so they say aware or more sensitive to that kindness within us.
So everyone is created out of kindness. Therefore, we have the kindness in us. It is only that we have to use it at the right time for the right people at the right moment. And as I always tell people, be kind anyway, no matter what. Be kind anyway, and that you will find fulfillment in everything that you do if you are kind to others, and you will always find a life meaningful when you are kind to the other people, and you will always find life really surprising when you are kind to those people, because sometimes when your kindness can become an answered prayer for someone in their life, and I always believe in that. Yeah.
But well, I believe that. Clear example, when I was planning this podcast, I have this podcast in my mind for a year and a half since 2022, I think, or 2023. And then I said, I cannot get it started because of some challenges. And then I said, God, please point me to the right people to help me. And here I am. So I agree with that. I believe that 100%. So continue to be kind. You'll never know, never underestimate your impact on someone's life. So is there anything else you want to add, Father Akhil, before we wrap it up?
Just 2 words. Be kind anyway.
Be kind, yes, be kind anyway. So thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope you learned from our conversation about kindness. And it is always a joy to be kind. So I'll see you in the next episode. That would be episode 2, and that would be about belonging and fitting in. So thank you so much. Take care and blessings.